Two U.S. fighter jets conducted airstrikes on weapons and ammunition facilities in Syria in response to Iran-backed militia attacks on American forces amid concerns that the Israel-Hamas conflict may spread into the wider Middle East. The strikes targeted facilities used by Iran's Revolutionary Guard Corps and its supported militias. U.S. President Joe Biden ordered these strikes. He also warned of additional measures if these attacks continue. The airstrikes occurred near Abu Kamal. It's a Syrian town on the border with Iraq, approximately at 4:30 Friday morning. The United States does not seek conflict, and neither does it have intention to engage in further hostilities. But these Iranian-backed attacks against U.S. forces are unacceptable and must stop. That is what U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd said in a statement out Thursday. Iran wants to hide its hand and deny its role in these attacks against American forces, and we will not let them. If the attacks by Iran's proxies against American forces continue, we will not hesitate to take further necessary measures to protect our people. Austin said that this was a narrowly tailored strike, it was in self-defense, and it was not necessarily connected to the Israel-Hamas war. But White House National Security Council spokesperson John Kirby had earlier warned that Washington would be forced to respond to these attacks at a time of America's choosing and a manner of America's choosing. Kirby's comments came even as the U.S. Department of Defense said that the U.S. and allied forces in Iraq and Syria had been attacked at least 16 times this month by Iran-backed militia groups. A total of 21 U.S. personnel have been injured in these attacks, most of them suffering from traumatic brain injuries. Reports of attacks on U.S. forces in the region have spiked since the beginning of the Israel-Hamas war. It all started earlier this month with the Palestinian terror group Hamas launching an unprecedented attack on Israel, which has killed more than 1,400 Israeli women, men, and children. Palestinian authorities say that in response, more than 7,000 people have been killed in retaliatory Israeli airstrikes on the Gaza Strip, carried out in response to Hamas's October 7th terror attacks. Earlier this week, Biden had said that he had directly warned Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, against targeting U.S. troops who are stationed in the Middle East.
We have had troops in the region since 9/11. to go after ISIS and prevent its reemergence in the region, having nothing to do with Israel at all. My warning to the Ayatollah was that if they continue to move against those troops, we will respond, and he should be prepared.
Iran backs both Hamas, which governs Gaza, and the Lebanese armed group Hezbollah, which Israel has clashed with in skirmishes along the Israel-Lebanon border since the beginning of this month. On Thursday, Iran's Foreign Minister Hossein Amir-Abdollahian said at the United Nations that the U.S. would not be spared from this fire if Israel's bombardment of Gaza did not end.
Today in New York and the United Nations, I say frankly to the American statesmen who are now managing the genocide in Palestine that we do not welcome to expansion of the war in the region. But I warn, if the genocide in Gaza continues, they will not be spared from this fire. It is our home, and West Asia is our region.
Along with the recent airstrikes in eastern Syria targeting Iran-backed militias, the U.S. has also announced the deployment of major naval assets. This includes two of its biggest aircraft carriers, the USS Gerald Ford and the USS Dwight Eisenhower, all of which demonstrates a far more assertive American stand in this conflict. In addition, the movement of 900 U.S. troops into the wider Middle East is a significant development. It marks a departure from U.S. policy of avoiding boots on the ground in recent conflicts. it also is a reflection of the seriousness of the situation as understood by Washington. The last time America had boots on the ground was during the invasion of Afghanistan in 2001 and the invasion of Iraq in 2003. Those campaigns did not end particularly well for the United States. More so, the recent botched withdrawal from Afghanistan in 2020, something that hurts the Biden administration even to this day. Even in the Russia-Ukraine war, which has been going on for the better part of the last year and a half, America has been reluctant to directly engage either its own troops or even the troops of NATO to fight this war on behalf of Ukraine. But Israel is significantly different. It's a different kettle of fish compared to either Afghanistan or even Ukraine for that matter. The United States is in an election year, and its domestic politics plays a crucial role in shaping its foreign policy, and Israel is a big factor in that. Historically, in America, supporting Israel has been a bipartisan issue. Both Republican and Democratic candidates who are running for president tend to back Israel unequivocally, and that's what we have seen this time around as well after the October 7th attacks. Even more recently, just in this past week, in a House of Representatives vote to back Israel in this fight and call out Hamas as a terror outfit, only 10 out of more than 400 representatives voted against the motion, which means more than 95% of the US legislature was in agreement with the motion, indicating widespread support that Israel enjoys on Capitol Hill. Israel is one of America's closest allies in the Middle East. There is a strong historical alliance. It's also a military relationship. It is further reinforced by the influential Jewish-led political action committees, or PACs, which are big advocates for pro-Israel policies. In fact, IPAC is the biggest Jewish lobby, and in an election year, neither the Democratic presidential candidate, in this case most likely Joe Biden, nor Donald Trump, the Republican frontrunner to be president, neither of them can afford to ignore this huge Jewish lobby. Israel faces threats not just from Hamas, but also from other regional actors. Hezbollah, which has got strong ties with Iran, it poses a threat to Israel from the north. Syrian and Yemeni rebel groups, again backed by Iran, are active in the east and south of Israel. The confluence of these factors presents a real risk of the Israel-Hamas conflict becoming a larger regional war. And that could necessitate deeper US involvement to support its ally Israel. But every time America has gotten actively involved in a war, whether it was Vietnam in the 70s, whether it was the Iran-Iraq war in the 80s, or much more recently the Afghanistan and Iraq campaigns, the domestic fallout with a period of time has always turned negative. Go back to 2003 and the whole bogey of weapons of mass destruction, something that turned out to be a colossal confabulation by the American establishment, and yet the political ramification of that, though the blowback to the George W. Bush administration at that time was significant, electorally in 2004, Bush won a re-election. So in this election year, if American troops are being attacked, and so far there are no fatalities but significant number of injuries, then no US president or challenger for the biggest post in the land can afford to not take that seriously. They have to be seen as backing their ally and also ensuring the safety of US troops in the region.